Am I the a-hole for spending my daughter's wedding fund on a car and a trip after she got eloped? My only child, Diana, and her now husband started dating in college and had been engaged just before the pandemic hit. After not being able to really plan for over a year due to everything, they decided a couple weeks ago to just take a trip, just the two of them, and elope. I'm very happy for them, and honestly, I'm glad to not have to deal with the stress of wedding planning. I had about $35,000 set aside for her wedding in an account I've had for a long time. After she told me the news, I was thrilled to be able to put it to other use. My car has been having some trouble lately, so I decided to just treat myself and get a new car in cash with the wedding fund. I paid about $30,000, and with the rest of the money, my wife and I decided we would take our little getaway. I didn't think this was controversial. Then, this past weekend, Diana was over and asked that since I didn't have to pay for a big wedding, if they could get the money to use towards a down payment. I told her sorry, but that's how I paid for my new car and will be paying for my upcoming trip. To say she was upset is an understatement. I figured I'd just let her cool off. But then last night, my ex, her mom, called me to telling me I made a selfish move and said some more things I won't repeat. I never told her it was a wedding or whatever she wanted fund, so I didn't think I did anything wrong. Would really appreciate some non-biased perspectives. Edit. Sorry if I worded this poorly, I'm not the best writer. I'm a blue-collar guy. She knew that I had money put aside for her wedding. It was something we talked about when she first got engaged over a year ago, but it's come up at times before that too. Just something I planned for due to having a daughter. I never told her it was a fund for her to use on whatever. I paid for her college and planned on paying for her wedding. But beyond that, didn't plan on paying her way through life. My parents couldn't help me out financially in life, so my goal was to pay for her schooling and wedding so she could start adulthood on the right foot. I felt like I accomplished that. We are far from wealthy. I did not go to college, but I always did my best to save and be responsible with money so I could help her start off the right way. I never expected to be paying her way through life. Maybe it's a dated traditional mindset, but I always believed after your kids officially start their own family, your job as a provider has been accomplished, and it is their turn to provide for themselves. Now it's my time to put myself and own finances as number one priority. I had her very young, 19, and still have a lot of working years left until retirement, hence the need for a reliable car. Now for the top comments. Note: Opie paid for his daughter's entire college tuition and living expenses, so she's starting out in life with zero college debt. Isn't that gift enough? Not a hole. I can hear where the daughter is coming from. She feels that the money was supposed to be used for her, and since her big wedding didn't happen, she should be able to use it for another purpose. That said, she's being entitled here. If she discussed this situation with her dad beforehand, we decided to elope. Would you be open to giving us the wedding money to spend on a house, etc.? Then they might have worked something out. Our dad could have said no. The issue is that she assumed it was still hers and is now disappointed that they can't buy a house right away and is behaving childishly. Opie, you are not an a-hole. Daughter is allowed to be disappointed, but not an ungrateful entitled brat. Especially since you paid for all her schooling. Not an a-hole. Parents paying for or contributing to a wedding is always a bonus. Whether you had it in a separate account or you would have paid out of your normal accounts, still your money. If she truly felt she was entitled to this money, then she should have explicitly had a discussion with you prior to eloping. Like, I think we're going to skip the big wedding and just elope. How would you feel about using that money to help us toward a house? That's exactly what she should have done. Ask. It doesn't sound like Opie would have given it to her, but who knows? It was a bold assumption of hers to think that money was sitting there for her to do whatever she wanted to with it. A wedding is for the whole family, not just the bride and groom. I'm going to give a tentative not a hole, but realistically, this largely comes down to how the fund was discussed and handled between you and your daughter, and you're not very clear about that in the original post. A friend's parents had a wedding fund for her, and while I'm not super clear about how it was discussed privately, she was able to use what she didn't spend on the wedding toward her honeymoon and house. I wouldn't go so far as to say that would be assumed, but again, it would come down to the understanding between you and your daughter, and we don't really know what that was like. Agreed. I can definitely see conversations about your wedding fund leading her to believe it was her fund. If Opie never said exclusively a wedding fund, I absolutely can see why she would think that. And it's not an unreasonable request to put your wedding fund toward down payment. I know someone who asked her parents if she could put most of her wedding fund toward a down payment and have a smaller wedding. And they enthusiastically said yes, because the understanding that it was her fund to use towards something big that was probably going to be a wedding, because that's usually the biggest expense. Low-key, you're the a-hole for not discussing something you've been referring to as hers before you spent it, so she knew that she wasn't going to see any of that money for even a honeymoon or anything. Final response. This blew up way more than expected overnight. A lot of people have inserted their own assumptions out of nowhere. Promises that never happened, tension between stepmother, riches I don't have, an obsession with her getting married even though I said I was relieved she eloped, etc. Which is odd. Basically, what I've gathered from the vast majority is that I didn't do anything wrong, but I should have communicated more clearly. I thought that I was crystal clear, but I see now that I could have been even more clear. Thank you everyone for your time. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my son out and threatening to take his tuition money after he trashed my house and crashed my car? My son turned 18 a month ago, and when he did, he asked if he could drive my car. Brand new RR. I of course said no. Last week, March 23, me and my wife had to go on a business trip and wouldn't be back until April 3. So we decided to send our 4 younger kids to my parents, but our oldest didn't want to go, so let him stay home. In the past has always proven to be responsible. Well, another son, 12, decided it was a good idea to eat 6 raw eggs, because apparently he thought it would make him stronger. Surprise, it didn't. He got sick and had to be taken to the hospital. We decided that one of us should head back to check on him, so I came back, March 26. When I got back, I got an Uber to the hospital to check on him, then I went to my parents and check on my other kids, and finally I went home to check on my oldest. When I got there, my garage was open and my RR was gone. My front door was open as well, so I thought we were robbed or something. And when I saw the inside of my house, I thought that it confirmed that. It looked like it was ransacked, except nothing was gone, just broken and out of place. I was terrified that my son was kidnapped because he was gone and he wasn't picking up his phone. Well, my car was gone, my house was destroyed, and my kid was missing. So of course I called the cops. Well, hours later, while police were investigating my house and looking for my son, and I was on the phone with my frantic wife, he pulled up in my driveway with my wrecked car and his friend in the front seat. Apparently, he threw a party, and when it was over, he decided to go for a joyride crashing my car. Of course I was pissed, so I kicked him out and told him not to come back. When my wife got home, I told her the situation and she said that I was overreacting and I should be happy that he was safe. She invited him over and said that I should apologize. And this boy had the damn nerve to say to me, "Well, next time just let me drive the car." And I tell you, I've never been so pissed at someone so much in my life. I went off and told him that he had 3 months to find a way to pay to get my car and house fixed, and if he didn't, then he's going to have to find a new way to pay for college next fall, implying that I was going to take the money meant for his tuition. And told him not to call me or return to my house if it had nothing to do with the damages, and kicked him out again. My wife called me a selfish a-hole, and perhaps she's right, but I'm still pissed while writing this. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, but your kids sound like afterthoughts, and your oldest is probably resentful. Not the a-hole, and you need to have a talk with your wife about how this behavior is unacceptable. She seems to be fine with it, and that is especially troubling because it means you won't be able to correct it with one parent undermining you. Everyone sucks here. Kid, obviously. You for not aligning with your wife before doling out consequences. Wife, because she should be pretty hacked too, and I'm guessing she's let him have his way too often. Regarding the consequences themselves, honestly, I think they're reasonably proportionate to your kid's a-hat attitude. Appalling lack of respect and horrible behavior. He needs a serious wake-up call. Not the a-hole. Yes, it should have crossed your mind to ask if he was okay, but your wife needs to get up to speed. Your adult son, because that's what he is now as he is 18, threw a freaking party trashing your house. Your home, The literal biggest investment you'll ever make aside from life insurance or a child. He then followed this up by wrecking a car with a friend who could have died due to her spoiled son's negligence. All because Daddy told me I can drive this car. And instead of being remotely remorseful, he comes back and basically tells you both to your face, well, it's your fault because you told me no. Son or not, I would be pressing charges against him. It's not cool at all that your wife is trying to be mad at you and holds no anger at him. How's that happening? My mom would be the first to pop off. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not immediately rushing to my partner's daughter after she was hit by a car? I, female 34, have been with my partner, Jeff, male 36, for around 6 years. I have 2 daughters, Meg 10, Charlie 8, and Jeff also has 2 daughters, Alice 12, Sarah 9. We have 2 sons together, Jack 4, Lucas 2. About 6 months ago, Alice was hit by a car and badly injured. Jeff was at work, and my sister had dropped her 5-year-old and 3-year-olds off with me to play with my boys. Alice and Meg had taken their scooters to the local shop to buy some sweets. We live in a pretty safe town, and I'm happy to let the girls go to the shops and ride their scooters or bikes around, as long as one of the older girls is with them. Meg came dashing home crying that Alice had been hit by a car and was badly hurt. Meg was hysterical, and it was really hard to get any clear information from her. But she was able to tell me eventually that it was about a 10-minute scooter ride away, and that a lady was with Alice and had called an ambulance. I tried to run to my neighbor to see if she could look after the younger kids while I went back out with Meg, but she wasn't home. My car doesn't have space for all of the kids, or enough car seats for my nephews as well as my sons. I rang Jeff and his brother who lives local a few times, as well as Alice's mom and my sister, and couldn't get through anyone. I didn't want to take all of the kids with me by foot as it would take too long to get them there, and I also didn't want them to see Alice hurt, but I couldn't leave them home alone. Eventually, I got hold of a friend who promised to be there in 5 minutes to mind the kids. By the time I got to the accident site, the ambulance had already taken Alice away. She broke her leg badly and had a concussion, but is otherwise on the mend. She was really upset to be left with a stranger at the accident site and has had nightmares about it. Jeff was also really upset, but understood that I couldn't get there. However, few of Alice's mom's family have been angry at me, saying that I would have gotten there faster if it was Meg. I can't deny that I probably would have been a lot more upset and panicked if it was Meg. But equally, I tried everything I could think of to get there but not leave the other kids in danger. Am I the a-hole? Should I have left the kids in the house with Meg or found some way to get all down to the accident site with me? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole for some all-around parenting issues that culminated in this situation. Neither the 12 or 10-year-old have a phone, but you were letting them go around town? You think one of the older girls is okay to be in charge for that, but not to watch the 4 toddlers at home? Or she could watch 2 toddlers and you take the other 2 with you? You're babysitting extra kids without the ability to drive them anywhere in an emergency? You reached out to 4 different people and none of them even answered a text or call. Not even the mom whose kids you were babysitting? Why didn't your daughter or the woman who called 911 also call you, instead of having the kid scooter 10 minutes home to you? How throwback are all of you when it comes to phones? And you admit you would have handled this differently if it were your biological child. For someone with this many kids, and extras you apparently babysit, you seem woefully unprepared physically and emotionally for the type of emergencies that could rise. The oldest, 12, one would have been an okay age to look after the toddlers, or at least half of them, had she not been the one hit by the car. 10 years old, the one who came home, is not an age to leave at home looking after toddlers by themselves. Right? I think people are forgetting that there was a 2, 3, 4, and 5-year-old there. No 10-year-old would be able to manage that by themselves. As a father of step and biological children, seeing you admit elsewhere in the comments that you love your other kids more and you would have found a solution for your bio kid really upsets me. Offhand solution, the 8/9-year-olds can sit with the toddlers latched in a playpen while you freaking sprint to the child hit by a car. Children have no sense of time or distance. That 5 minutes was probably more like 2 minutes. She could have died with only a stranger to comfort her. Her sister came as fast as she could to get help and watched you do nothing. You're the a-hole. Edit. Lots of folks saying the older kids couldn't possibly handle the younger. I disagree fully, especially in emergencies. But everyone, including me, seems to be forgetting a key point. She had a car. She simply couldn't fit 5 kids in it to get to the 6th. Putting aside the fact that why do you only have a vehicle that you can't fit a family in, as there may be financial reasons. Why the hell not put the youngest kids in the car and leave the eldest home? The point is, there were multiple ways to solve this problem and Opie pursued none of them, while clearly admitting she would have done so for her real kids because she loves them more. Honestly. Edit. Thank you for your honest judgment. A lot of you are saying what I feel. I honestly don't know what I would have done if it had been Meg that was hurt. The guilt is eating me up inside that I would have somehow found a solution for her, but I just can't think of what that solution would have been. The thought that I would have somehow found one if it had been Meg is hard to live with. I'm going to speak with Jeff tonight and show him this post. I do love Alice and Sarah, but I just can't help that I love my biological kids more. I don't know what's wrong with me. We only have the girls one weekend a month and in the holidays, but that isn't an excuse. I do love them, but you are all right. They deserve more. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for only punishing my stepson and not my son, even though they both broke each other's laptops? I'm, female, a mom of 2. Chris, 16 bio, and Sammy, 13 stepson. I've been married to Sammy's father for over 4 years. The boys argue sometimes, but nothing huge, just minor everyday issues. And since my husband is busy all the time, he's a nurse, I handle the boys' issues. Last week, Chris was bringing Sammy his laptop from his rooms and Sammy asked. Chris unfortunately fell off the stairs, injured his knee, and Sammy's laptop broke. Sammy was mad, although it was an accident. I told him I'd get it fixed quickly. However, he kept bringing it up and arguing with Chris about it even after Chris apologized. The next day, Chris showed me his laptop and was crying, saying Sammy did it to get even. That wasn't acceptable behavior. Sammy didn't deny it. In fact, brag about it and said Chris will learn not to mess with his stuff. I was so mad at him, I told him he made a mistake and told him he was grounded. My husband told me to hang on a second and ask why I only punished Sammy, although Chris broke his laptop. I said it's different. Chris didn't mean it. It was an accident. But Sammy planned to and damaged Chris's laptop. My husband called me ridiculous since it's the same outcome. Said it's fair to ground Chris too, but I refused. We started arguing, and my husband told me what I'm doing doesn't look good because I'm showing favoritism and it'll ruin the kids' relationship. I insisted it was unfair to ground both kids, and he insisted I was playing favorites. Sammy's upset already. I took both laptops to the store to get them fixed, and my husband sent me a text with the word favoritism typed like this, saying he handled the entire thing the wrong way. Intent matters here. Chris broke Sammy's laptop accidentally. Sammy broke Chris's laptop on purpose. While it's true that both laptops are broken, only one was broken out of malice. Your assessment of the situation and who got punished is absolutely correct and not favoritism. Not an a-hole. The purpose of grounding is to learn. Does Chris learn not to fall? Probably not. But Sammy should learn not to break his stepbrother's stuff. Definitely not an a-hole. Not an a-hole. One was an accident. One was deliberate and cruel sabotage. It's absurd that your husband doesn't see that. Also kind of absurd that you seem to be fully responsible for caring both kids because your husband has a job? That text sounds like it came from a teenage boy. Yes, they aren't the same actions at all. Basing it on results is stupid. Not an a-hole. Your sons did not behave equally, so they shouldn't be punished equally. Intention matters. This is not a controversial idea. This is why manslaughter is not punished the same as premeditated murder. Your husband is the one showing favoritism, and he needs to get it through his head that one of his sons destroyed property on purpose in an act of revenge. The thing that will ruin your sons' relationship with each other is if it goes without consequences.